Here is an example of additional data that can complement the statement. 69% of buyers have accepted cold calls from new providers. A-cents total number of buyers contacted, 500. A-cents number of buyers who accepted cold calls, 345. A-cents number of buyers who declined cold calls, 155. Here is an example of additional data that complements the statement. 57% of C-level buyers prefer to be contacted via phone. A-cents total number of C-level executives surveyed, 200. A-cents number of C-level executives preferring phone contact, 114. A-cents number of C-level executives preferring email contact, 60. A-cents number of C-level executives preferring in-person meetings, 26. This data provides a more detailed breakdown of communication preferences among C-level executives. It indicates that out of 200 C-level executives surveyed, 114 of them prefer to be contacted via phone, accounting for 57% of the respondents. Here is an example of additional data that complements the statement. Organizations that don't cold call experienced 42% less growth than those who use the tactic. A-cents average annual revenue growth for organizations using cold calling, 8%. A-cents average annual revenue growth for organizations not using cold calling, 3%. A-cents total number of organizations in the study, 500. This data provides context to the statement by showing the actual growth rates of organizations that utilize cold calling compared to those that do not. It demonstrates a significant difference in growth rates between the two groups, reinforcing the effectiveness of cold calling as a sales tactic. Here is an example of additional data that complements the statement. Top sellers spend an average of 6 hours every week researching their prospects. A-cents conversion rate for top sellers who spend 6+ hours researching, 25%. A-cents conversion rate for sellers who spend less than 2 hours researching, 10%. A-cents average deal size for top sellers, $10,000. A-cents total number of top sellers in the study, 200. This data provides context to the statement by showing the correlation between the time spent on prospect research and the resulting conversion rates and deal sizes for top sellers. It highlights the impact of thorough prospect research on sales performance. Here is an example of additional data that complements the statement. On average, it takes 8 cold calls to reach a prospect. A-cents response rate for the first cold call, 12%. A-cents response rate for the second cold call, 18%. A-cents response rate for the third cold call, 22%. A-cents response rate for the fourth cold call, 25%. A-cents response rate for the fifth cold call, 28%. A-cents response rate for the sixth cold call, 30%. A-cents response rate for the seventh cold call, 32%. A-cents response rate for the eighth cold call, 35%. This data provides a breakdown of response rates for each cold call attempt. It illustrates the incremental improvement in reaching prospects with each subsequent call. This information can be valuable for sales agents to understand the persistence required for successful outreach. Here is an example of additional data that complements the statement. Once you're talking to the decision maker, 6 is the ideal number of calls to win a sale. A-cents conversion rate after first call, 10%. A-cents conversion rate after second call, 20%. A-cents conversion rate after third call, 30%. A-cents conversion rate after fourth call, 40%. A-cents conversion rate after fifth call, 50%. A-cents conversion rate after sixth call, 60%. This data highlights the increasing likelihood of winning a sale with each subsequent call to the decision maker. It underscores the importance of persistence in the sales process. Here is an example of additional data that complements the statement. Successful cold calls often have a 55 hours 45 minutes talk-to-listen ratio. Research shows that effective communication during cold calls includes the following components. A-cents talk-to-listen ratio, 55 hours 45 minutes. I-cents average call length, 6-8 minutes. A-cents asking open-ended questions, increases engagement by 20%. A-cents active listening, improves retention of information by 30%. A-cents building rapport, increases likelihood of conversion by 50%. A-cents addressing pain points, boosts success rate by 40%. This data emphasizes the significance of maintaining a balanced talk-to-listen ratio and employing various communication techniques for successful cold calls. Here's an example of additional data that complements the statement. Wednesday is the best day of the week to make a cold call. Studies have shown that Wednesday is the most effective day for cold calling due to various factors. A-cents answer rate, 46% higher on Wednesdays compared to Mondays. A-cents prospect availability, 34% more likely to be available and receptive. A-cents decision maker availability, 17% higher chance of reaching decision makers. A-cents positive response rate, 29% more positive responses received. These statistics highlight why Wednesday stands out as the optimal day for making cold calls, as it offers a higher likelihood of connecting with prospects and decision makers. Here's an example of additional data that complements the statement, and the best time to call prospects is between 4 and 5 p.m. Research indicates that calling prospects between 4 and 5 p.m. yields several advantages. A sense response rate. During this window, response rates are 164% higher compared to calling at 1 p.m. A sense decision maker availability. 46% more likely to reach decision makers. A sense reduced competition. Fewer competitors are reaching out, providing a higher chance of engagement. I sense longer conversations. Calls during this time tend to be 22% longer, allowing for more in-depth discussions. These insights emphasize that the late afternoon period, specifically between 4 and 5 p.m., presents a prime opportunity for effective cold calling. Supplemental data that complements the statement the worst time and day to make a call is Friday afternoon includes a sense response rate. Studies show that response rates on Friday afternoons drop by 30% compared to other times of the week. A sense decision maker availability. Decision makers are 46% less likely to be available and engaged during Friday afternoons. I sense meeting schedules. Many professionals have meetings or winding down activities scheduled on Friday afternoons, making them less receptive to cold calls. These findings underscore the importance of avoiding Friday afternoons for cold calling, as it tends to yield lower response rates and reduced accessibility to key decision makers. In successful cold calls, the monologue duration is typically longer, with a baseline of 25 seconds for all calls, while successful calls extend to an average of 37 seconds. This indicates that engaging in a more detailed and informative initial pitch may lead to higher success rates in cold calling efforts. Here's a script you can use for your cold call. Call number 6. Caller, you. Hi, may I speak with property owner's name? Recipient, property owner, speaking. You. Hi, property owner's name. This is your name, and I'm a local real estate agent here in town. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. Property owner, no, it's okay. What can I help you with? You. Great, thank you. I wanted to reach out because I have a client who's currently going through a 1031 exchange and they're actively looking for properties to invest in. Your property on address caught our attention, and I wanted to check in with you to see if you would be open to discussing the possibility of selling. Property owner, well, I haven't really considered selling at this point. You. I completely understand. We're not looking to pressure anyone, but it's always good to explore potential opportunities. If you were to consider selling, do you have an idea of what you'd be looking for in terms of price? Property owner, I haven't thought about it recently, but it would have to be an offer that makes sense for me. You. Of course, that makes perfect sense. We're certainly interested in ensuring that any offer we present aligns with your expectations. Additionally, if there's anything specific about the property that you'd like to highlight, or any particular aspects that you value, we'd love to hear about them. Property owner, well, it's a brief description of the property and any noteworthy features. You. That's fantastic. Property owner's name. Those are definitely aspects that potential buyers would find appealing. We really appreciate your time today. If anything changes in the future or if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Is there a convenient way for me to follow up with you? Property owner, you can reach me at phone number or email address. You. Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. We'll stay in touch, and in the meantime, if there's anything else you'd like to know about the current market trends or any general real estate information, feel free to ask. Have a wonderful day. Property owner, thank you. You too. Here's a script for a commercial real estate sales agent. Here are fictional examples of additional data that can complement the statement about mastering the 15-second pitch. 1. Success story. Just last year, we helped T.M. Johnson's company increase their market share by 20% through our tailored marketing solutions. Our expertise in specific area really made a difference. 2. Customer testimonial. Ian Johnson himself praised our innovative approach, saying that our services revolutionized how they approached specific business process. Our track record in industry speaks for itself. 3. Industry recognition. We've been recognized as leaders in industry by prestigious publications like Industry Magazine. Our commitment to pushing the boundaries of what's possible in specific area sets us apart. 4. Unique offering. What really sets us apart is our proprietary technology, product name, which has been a game changer for companies like Ian Johnson's. It streamlines specific process and has a proven ROI of percentage. 5. Impressive stats. Our team of experts collectively holds over 100 years of experience in industry. This depth of knowledge translates to real results, as evidenced by our consistent, impressive metric. For example, Revenue growth, cost savings. 6. Market impact. We've been a driving force in industry, contributing to trends like specific industry trend, for example, sustainability. Our forward-thinking approach has made waves and influenced how businesses operate. 7. Client portfolio. Our client roster includes some of the biggest names in industry, from Fortune 500 companies to startups. We've had the privilege of working with leaders like Ian Johnson, which speaks to the caliber of our services. 8. Innovative solutions. Our recent innovation, product/service name, has been a game changer for companies looking to specific benefit, for example, streamline operations, improve customer experience. Ian Johnson's company is just one of many success stories. These fictional examples provide additional data and context to emphasize the company's expertise, unique offerings, and impact on the industry. They further support the idea of having a concise and compelling pitch to engage potential clients. To complement the statement about mastering the 15-second pitch, you can use the following fictional data and create a chart to visually represent it. ASense company name, ABC Solutions. ASense industry, marketing and advertising. ASense success rate increase, 30%. ASense customer testimonial, ABC Solutions transformed our marketing approach. Their expertise and unique tools have been invaluable. iSense market impact, 10% increase in market share now. You can create a bar chart in Excel or Google Sheets with company name on the x-axis and success rate increase on the y-axis. Each bar represents a different company, showcasing their success rate increase. Additionally, you can add a data label to each bar with a short quote from a fictional customer testimonial, emphasizing the impact of the company's 15-second pitch. Remember to label your chart appropriately and add a title like Impact of 15-second pitch on success rate increase. This visual representation will help illustrate the effectiveness of having a concise and compelling pitch. Address the setup. Note where your product fits and stands out in the competitive space. For example, you may sit in an industry with two products, A and C. Product A has some inaccuracies, but it's inexpensive, while product C is accurate but too expensive for most businesses to justify. A script may look like this: we have a product that solves problem/value prop in your industry and it's not product A or product C. Then pause. Once you've established the setup, state that you are proposing option B. Pause one last time to wait for questions and interest on their end. Call number 7, caller, you, hi, may I speak with, prospect's name, recipient, prospect, speaking, you, hi, prospect's name, this is, your name, and I'm a local commercial real estate agent. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. Prospect, no problem at all. What can I do for you? You, great, thank you. I'll be brief. I wanted to reach out today because we specialize in off-market commercial properties, connecting buyers and sellers in a unique way. You may be familiar with Product A, which offers a cost-effective solution but can sometimes come with inaccuracies. On the other hand, Product C provides accurate data, but it might be too expensive for most businesses. Prospect, I see what you're getting at. So, where does your solution fit in? We have a product that strikes a balance between accuracy and cost-effectiveness. It's not Product A or Product C. Our platform leverages cutting-edge technology to provide accurate, up-to-date information on off-market properties, making it a valuable resource for both buyers and sellers. Prospect, that sounds interesting. Tell me more about your platform. Certainly. Our platform, which we'll call Option B, offers a comprehensive database of off-market properties, connecting motivated buyers with sellers who are looking for a discrete transaction. We prioritize accuracy and transparency while keeping our services accessible to businesses of various sizes. Prospect, how do you ensure the accuracy of your data? We employ a combination of advanced algorithms and manual verification processes to ensure that the information on our platform is reliable and up-to-date. Additionally, we have a dedicated team that constantly monitors the market to provide the most accurate listings. Prospect, that sounds promising. Can you give me an example of a recent successful transaction facilitated by your platform? Absolutely. Just last month, we assisted a local business owner in finding an ideal property for expansion through our platform. The seller, who valued privacy, was able to connect with a motivated buyer quickly and efficiently. It was a win-win situation for both parties. Prospect, impressive. I'd like to learn more about how we can potentially collaborate. That's great to hear. Prospect's name. I'd be happy to schedule a meeting at your convenience to provide a more in-depth overview and address any specific questions you may have. How does that sound? Prospect, that works for me. Let's set up a meeting. Wonderful. I'll reach out to you shortly to coordinate our schedules. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to discussing this further. Prospect, thank you. I'm looking forward to it as well. Addressing the setup and where your product fits in the competitive space, you can use the following fictional data: company name, ZIS Solutions Industry, Technology Solutions Comparison Metrics, A-Sense Accuracy, A-Sense Product A, 75% A-Sense Product B, Your Product, 95% A-Sense Product C, 90% A-Sense Affordability, Cost per Solution, A-Sense Product A, $500, A-Sense Product B, Your Product, $800, A-Sense Product C, $1,200, A-Sense Customer Satisfaction, Scale of 1-10, A-Sense Product A, 6.5 A-Sense Product B, Your Product, 9.2 A-Sense Product C, 8.0. You can use this data to create a radar chart or a bar chart in Excel or Google Sheets. The radar chart can showcase your product's performance across different metrics: accuracy, affordability, and customer satisfaction, compared to products A and C. This visually highlights where your product stands out. Additionally, you can create a bar chart to directly compare the cost of each product. Label the x-axis as product name and the y-axis as cost. Each bar represents a different product, and you can include data labels with the specific cost values. Remember to add a title like Product Comparison in the Technology Solutions Industry to provide context for the chart. This visual representation will help demonstrate how your product addresses the setup and stands out in the competitive space. Create a graph, chart. Create fictional examples of additional data that can complement the statement. The number one cold calling tip is to ask the right questions. Example of additional data that complements the statement about asking the right questions during cold calls. Statement. The number one cold calling tip is to ask the right questions. Fictional data example. Question type, success rate, %. Open-ended questions vertical bar 75. Clarifying questions vertical bar 80. Needs assessment, 85. Pain point questions vertical bar 90. Closing questions, 70. In this example, we're presenting a breakdown of different types of questions and their corresponding success rates. The data suggests that asking specific types of questions, such as pain point questions or needs assessment, leads to higher success rates in cold calling. You can use this data to create a bar chart where the x-axis represents the question type, and the y-axis represents the success rate in percentages. Each type of question will have its own bar, and you can add data labels to display the success rate values. This visual representation emphasizes the importance of asking the right questions during cold calls and provides specific data to support this claim. This script sets up your unique value proposition in the competitive landscape and introduces your platform as a valuable option for potential clients. It emphasizes the balance of accuracy and affordability, positioning your service as an attractive choice. Asking the right questions is crucial when cold calling commercial property owners. Here are some effective questions. 1. For property sellers, A-Sense, have you considered selling your property recently? A-Sense, what factors would influence your decision to sell your property? A-Sense, are there any specific goals or timelines you have in mind for selling? A-Sense, have you had any previous experience with off-market transactions? A-Sense, could you tell me more about the property? What makes it unique? 2. For potential buyers, A-Sense, are you currently looking to expand your commercial property portfolio? A-Sense, what type of properties are you most interested in? For example, office spaces, industrial, retail. A-Sense, do you have any specific location preferences or target areas? A-Sense, are there any particular features or amenities you prioritize in a property? A-Sense, have you previously engaged in off-market property transactions? 3. For both sellers and buyers, A-Sense, have you ever utilized a platform specializing in off-market properties? A-Sense, what are your primary objectives in either selling or acquiring a property? A-Sense, do you have any specific criteria in mind, such as deal size, potential for redevelopment, or proximity to certain amenities? Remember to actively listen to their responses and use the information to tailor your approach. Additionally, be prepared to address any concerns or questions they may have about the process or your services. This will demonstrate your expertise and build trust with the property owner. Ask open-ended questions. Questions are the way to a prospect's heart. They engage the prospect and keep your deal's momentum going. Morgan Ingram of Barrows explains, the number one tip is to ask the right questions. Make sure your prospect's interest doesn't end along with the call by asking the right questions to keep the conversation and the deal moving forward. Example of additional data that complements the statement about asking open-ended questions during cold calls. Statement. Questions are the way to a prospect's heart. They engage the prospect and keep your deal's momentum going. Fictional data example. Question type, prospect engagement rate, %. Open-ended questions vertical bar 85. Yes, no questions, 60. Multiple choice, 50. Leading questions, 45. Clarifying questions vertical bar 75. Representing a breakdown of different question types and their corresponding prospect engagement rates. The data suggests that using open-ended questions leads to higher prospect engagement rates during cold calls. You can use this data to create a bar chart where the x-axis represents the question type, and the y-axis represents the prospect engagement rate in percentages. Each type of question will have its own bar, and you can add data labels to display the engagement rate values. This visual representation reinforces the importance of asking open-ended questions during cold calls and provides specific data to support this claim. Asking the right questions is crucial when cold calling commercial property owners. Here are some effective questions. 1. For property sellers, since have you considered selling your property recently? Since what factors would influence your decision to sell your property? Since are there any specific goals or timelines you have in mind for selling? Since have you had any previous experience with off-market transactions? Since could you tell me more about the property? What makes it unique? 2. For potential buyers, since are you currently looking to expand your commercial property portfolio? Since what type of properties are you most interested in? For example, office spaces, industrial, retail. Since do you have any specific location preferences or target areas? Since are there any particular features or amenities you prioritize in a property? Since have you previously engaged in off-market property transactions? 3. For both sellers and buyers, since have you ever utilized a platform specializing in off-market properties? Since what are your primary objectives in either selling or acquiring a property? Since do you have any specific criteria in mind, such as deal size, potential for redevelopment, or proximity to certain amenities? Remember to actively listen to their responses and use the information to tailor your approach. Additionally, be prepared to address any concerns or questions they may have about the process or your services. This will demonstrate your expertise and build trust with the property owner. Tip 4. Smile when you talk. Yes, we're quite literally recommending that you smile and dial. Add notes into your cold calling script to remind yourself to smile. Sure, you may look like a typical sales stock photo on the call, but smiling affects your tone of voice. Smiling when you talk not only builds rapport, but it helps you sound relaxed, knowledgeable, and enthusiastic. Additionally, research has shown a strong correlation between smiling and positive business outcomes. Prospects are able to discern your smile over the phone, making you seem more friendly and approachable, ultimately improving your closing rates. I can provide you with a fictional dataset and a description of how it can complement the statement about smiling during cold calls. Fictional data example: call type, smile frequency, percent, closing rate, percent. Smiled, 90, 25, didn't smile, 20, 15. Description: in this fictional dataset, we have two variables, smile frequency and closing rate. Smile frequency represents the percentage of calls where the sales agent reminded themselves to smile, while closing rate indicates the success rate in closing deals. The data suggests a strong correlation between smiling during calls and positive outcomes. When the sales agent remembered to smile, the closing rate was significantly higher compared to instances where they didn't smile. You can create a bar chart with call type on the x-axis, smile frequency on the left y-axis, and closing rate on the right y-axis. Each bar will represent the respective data for smiled and didn't smile, showing a clear contrast in closing rates. This visual representation reinforces the importance of smiling during cold calls and provides specific data to support this claim. It also emphasizes the potential impact on closing rates, encouraging sales agents to incorporate this practice into their calls. Tip 5. Say only 1 or 2 sentences at a time. Keep your conversation over the phone short and to the point. Yesware explains how studies show that the brain can only hang on to 20-30 seconds of information at any given time. By that measure, your prospect will likely only retain 30 seconds of a 15-minute conversation. One of the most valuable cold calling tips is to speak clearly and articulately to ensure your prospect remains interested. I can provide you with a fictional dataset and a description of how it can complement the statement about keeping phone conversations short and to the point. Fictional data example: call length, seconds, retention rate, percent. 30, 75, 60, 60, 90, 45, 120, 30. Description: in this fictional dataset, we have two variables, call length and retention rate. Call length represents the duration of the call in seconds, while retention rate indicates the percentage of information retained by the prospect after the call. The data suggests a clear inverse relationship between call length and retention rate. As the call length increases, the retention rate tends to decrease. This highlights the importance of keeping conversations short and concise. You can create a line chart with call length on the x-axis and 2 lines representing retention rate for different call lengths. This visual representation reinforces the cold calling tip of keeping conversations brief and impactful for better prospect engagement and information retention. Tip 06. Have a no goal. This cold calling tip makes rejection your goal and takes the fear out of hearing number. Rather than waiting for the yes, make sure you hit a goal of no's. Per consultant Robert D. Smith, counting no's is a great strategy to gamify rejection, overcome call reluctance, increase your sales pipeline velocity, and generate more sales leads. Dataset and a description of how it can complement the statement about having a no goal in cold calling. Fictional data example, calls made, no's received, conversion rate, percent. 50, 20, 40, 75, 30, 40, 100, 40, 40, 125, 50, 40. Description. In this fictional dataset, we have three variables, calls made, no's received, and conversion rate. A cents calls made represents the number of calls made during a specific period. A cents no's received indicates how many times the agent received a no as a response. A cents conversion rate shows the percentage of successful conversions based on the total number of calls. The data illustrates a consistent pattern where as the number of calls increases, the number of no's received also rises. However, the conversion rate remains steady at 40%. You can create a bar chart with calls made on the x-axis, 2 bars representing no's received and conversion rate respectively, and the y-axis showing the corresponding values. This visual representation emphasizes the importance of setting a no goal to gamify rejection and drive more productive cold calling efforts. Tip 7. Pique curiosity in voicemails. With 97% of calls now going to voicemail, it's crucial to master the art of leaving voicemails that invoke curiosity. To do this, state your name last. Morgan Ingram goes through his typical voicemail sales script. Hello, name. I've talked to a lot of, job title, regarding your company's value prop. If this resonates with you in any way, please reply to the email I just sent or will send after this call. My name is, name, from, company. Again, my name is, name, from, company. Thanks. Dataset and a description of how it can complement the statement about piquing curiosity in voicemails. Fictional data example, voicemails left, curiosity invoked, percent. 50, 60, 75, 70, 100, 75, 125, 80. Description. In this fictional dataset, we have two variables, voicemails left and curiosity invoked. A cents voicemails left represents the number of voicemails left by the agent during a specific period. A cents curiosity invoked indicates the percentage of voicemails that successfully piqued curiosity. The data illustrates a positive trend where, as the number of voicemails left increases, the percentage of voicemails that successfully piqued curiosity also rises. You can create a line chart with voicemails left on the x-axis and curiosity invoked on the y-axis. This visual representation emphasizes the importance of mastering the art of leaving voicemails that invoke curiosity, as it leads to higher engagement and potential responses. Tip 8. Organize your cold calling time. To maximize your time and energy, strategically organize your calling schedule into 2 parts, prospecting to find the right person, and call blitzing to get that person on the phone, according to Steve Richard of Harvard Business Review. Dataset and a description of how it can complement the statement about organizing cold calling time. Fictional data example, days of the week, calls made, prospecting, calls made, blitzing. Monday, 50, 35, Tuesday, 60, 45, Wednesday, 55, 40, Thursday, 65, 50, Friday, 45, 30. Vertical bar description. In this fictional dataset, we have 3 variables, days of the week, calls made, prospecting, and calls made, blitzing. A cents days of the week represents different days of the week. I cents calls made, prospecting, indicates the number of calls made during the prospecting phase. I cents calls made, blitzing, represents the number of calls made during the call blitzing phase. The data illustrates how the agent strategically allocates their calling time throughout the week. They dedicate specific days to prospecting and others to call blitzing. This organized approach helps in efficiently finding the right person and then focusing on getting them on the phone. You can create a grouped bar chart with days of the week on the x-axis, and 2 sets of bars representing calls made, prospecting, and calls made, blitzing, on the y-axis. This visual representation emphasizes the importance of organizing cold calling time for maximum effectiveness. Create a graph, chart. Create fictional examples of additional data that can complement the statement. As a native French speaker, I encourage all of you to watch and to listen carefully a lot of old French movies from 50s up to the 70s. The language and the accent are great. You will make great improvements. Dataset and description of how it can complement the statement about watching old French movies to improve language skills. Fictional data example, decade, number of movies watched, language proficiency gain. 1950s, 10, high, 1960s, 15, very high, 1970s, 12, high. Vertical bar description. In this fictional dataset, we have 3 variables, decade, number of movies watched, and language proficiency gain. I cents decade represents the era of the French movies, 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s. A sense number of movies watched indicates how many movies were watched in each respective decade. A sense language proficiency gain describes the level of language improvement experienced after watching movies from that decade. The data illustrates how watching movies from different decades contributes to language proficiency. In this fictional scenario, the person experiences a very high level of language improvement by watching movies from the 1960s, which is attributed to the language and accent used in films from that era. This information could be presented in a bar chart, with decade on the x-axis, number of movies watched on the left y-axis, and language proficiency gain on the right y-axis. The bars for language proficiency gain can be color-coded to emphasize the level of improvement. This visual representation highlights the impact of watching old French movies on language skills. Tip 9. Call at the strategic times. Maximize your time and qualify prospects during normal business hours, 10 to 11:30 a.m., when administrative assistants are in the office. Then call blitz during call windows. Call windows are typically before 8:30 a.m. and after 5:30 p.m. once the administrative assistants are gone. According to Richard, the best times to cold call are 5 minutes before the top of the hour, catching the executives before their next conference call meetings, and holidays like President's Day, when executives are likely to be in the office and other business may be slow. Best times to contact 8-9 a.m. for 5 p.m. Dataset and description of how it can complement the statement about strategic calling times. Fictional data example, time slot, number of calls made, conversion rate, %. 10 o'clock to 11:30 a.m., 50, 12, 7:30 to 8:30 a.m., 35, 10, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m., 40, 8, 8:55 to 9 o'clock a.m., 25, 14, holidays, 30, 15. Description. In this fictional dataset, we have 5 different time slots for making cold calls. These time slots represent different periods during the day. A sense number of calls made indicates how many calls were made during each respective time slot. A sense conversion rate, %, represents the percentage of successful conversions, for example, securing a meeting or sale, from the calls made during that time slot. The data illustrates the effectiveness of making calls at strategic times. For instance, the time slot between 8:55 and 9 o'clock a.m. shows a high conversion rate of 14%, indicating that executives are receptive during that brief window before their next meeting. This information could be presented in a bar chart, with time slot on the x-axis, number of calls made on the left y-axis, and conversion rate, % on the right y-axis. The bars for number of calls made and conversion rate, % can be color-coded to differentiate them. This visual representation emphasizes the importance of calling at specific times for higher conversion rates. Mistake number 1. Sounding like a robot. Not tailoring your conversation to the company that you're talking to makes the caller seem robotic. In some cases, companies even use automated recordings as the first step to cold calling, which is a big no-no. Similarly, using universal scripts can make a call feel rehearsed and unnatural. This will decrease the likelihood of a potential client wanting to work with you. It shows that from the first interaction, the seller does not have the attention to detail necessary to make the prospect feel valued. Dataset and description of how it can complement the statement about avoiding sounding like a robot during cold calls. Fictional data example, call type, personalized, %, conversion rate, %. Tailored calls, 70, 18, universal scripts, 30. 10 vertical bar description. In this fictional dataset, we have 2 different types of cold calls, tailored calls and universal scripts. A sense personalized, % indicates the percentage of calls that were tailored to the company being contacted. A sense conversion rate, % represents the percentage of successful conversions, for example, securing a meeting or sale, from each type of call. The data shows that when calls are tailored to the company, that is, not sounding like a robot, there is a higher conversion rate. Specifically, tailored calls have a conversion rate of 18%, whereas calls using universal scripts only have a conversion rate of 10%. This information could be presented in a bar chart, with call type on the x-axis, personalized, % on the left y-axis, and conversion rate, % on the right y-axis. The bars for personalized, % and conversion rate, % can be color-coded to differentiate them. This visual representation emphasizes the importance of personalizing calls for higher conversion rates. Mistake number 2. Talking too much and not listening enough. If you can get the prospect to engage with you, don't spend your limited time rattling off facts and statistics without letting them speak. Nobody likes to be talked at. Diving headfirst into a pitch without coming up for air can make the relationship seem one-sided and unappealing. Take the time to listen to what they have to say. Chances are they will give you nuggets of valuable information that you can use to further the conversation, build trust, and ultimately get an appointment set. Dataset and description of how it can complement the statement about talking too much and not listening enough during cold calls. Fictional data example, call type, listening time, seconds, conversion rate, percent. Balanced calls, 120, 20, talkative calls, 60, 12 vertical bar description. In this fictional dataset, we have two different types of cold calls, balanced calls and talkative calls. A sense listening time, seconds, indicates the amount of time, in seconds, spent actively listening during the call. A sense conversion rate, percent, represents the percentage of successful conversions, for example, securing a meeting or sale. From each type of call, the data shows that calls with a balanced approach of speaking and listening have a higher conversion rate. Specifically, balanced calls have a conversion rate of 20%, whereas talkative calls have a conversion rate of 12%. This information could be presented in a bar chart, with call type on the x-axis, listening time, seconds, on the left y-axis, and conversion rate, percent, on the right y-axis. The bars for listening time, seconds, and conversion rate, percent, can be color-coded to differentiate them. This visual representation highlights the importance of active listening for higher conversion rates. Mistake number 3. One of the reasons that companies have receptionists and assistants is to weed out unwanted calls to the decision makers. The trickiest skill in cold calling is getting a gatekeeper to connect you with someone that will say yes. A rejection from the gatekeeper can be hard to overcome since you never even got a chance to speak to the person with buying power. This is the stage where many cold calls turn, well, cold. Dataset and description of how it can complement the statement about the challenge of getting past gatekeepers during cold calls. Fictional data example, call outcome, gatekeeper rejection rate, percent, overall conversion rate, percent. Successful calls, 15, 25, unsuccessful calls, 88. Description, in this fictional dataset, we have two different types of cold call outcomes, successful calls and unsuccessful calls. A sense gatekeeper rejection rate, percent, indicates the percentage of calls where the gatekeeper rejected the call without connecting to the decision maker. A sense overall conversion rate, percent, represents the percentage of successful conversions, for example, securing a meeting or sale, from all calls. The data shows that successful calls have a gatekeeper rejection rate of 15% and an overall conversion rate of 25%. In contrast, unsuccessful calls have a much higher gatekeeper rejection rate of 80% and a lower overall conversion rate of 8%. This information could be presented in a bar chart, with call outcome on the x-axis, gatekeeper rejection rate, percent, on the left y-axis, and overall conversion rate, percent, on the right y-axis. The bars for rejection rate and conversion rate can be color-coded to differentiate them. This visual representation emphasizes the significance of overcoming gatekeeper rejections for successful cold calls. Mistake number 4. Opening with "How are you doing today?" This is a classic and overused filler. When you start your calls with this, not only do you sound disingenuous right off the bat, but you are also setting yourself up for potential failure if they respond with anything other than fine. Instead, politely jump to the point and say, "Thanks for taking my call." John Barrows. Dataset and description of how it can complement the statement about the mistake of opening cold calls with "How are you doing today?" Fictional data example, opening phrase, response rate, percent, success rate, percent. How are you doing today? 20, 10. Thanks for taking my call. 35, 25 vertical bar description. In this fictional dataset, we have two different opening phrases used during cold calls, "How are you doing today?" and "Thanks for taking my call." A sense response rate, percent, indicates the percentage of times the prospect responded positively or engaged in conversation after the opening phrase. A sense success rate, percent, represents the percentage of successful conversions, for example, securing a meeting or sale, from the calls. The data shows that using the opening phrase "How are you doing today?" resulted in a response rate of 20% and a success rate of 10%. In contrast, using the phrase "Thanks for taking my call" led to a higher response rate of 35% and a higher success rate of 25%. This information could be presented in a bar chart, with opening phrase on the x-axis, response rate, percent, on the left y-axis, and success rate, percent, on the right y-axis. The bars for response rate and success rate can be color-coded to differentiate them. This visual representation highlights the effectiveness of using a more direct and appreciative opening phrase in cold calls. Mistake number 5. Asking "Is now a good time?" Honestly, no, it's probably not a good time. It's never a good time, especially when you get a call from an unknown number. If it is, in fact, a bad time for your caller, let them tell you. Don't give them an outright away. Ian Johnson. Dataset and description of how it can complement the statement about the mistake of asking "Is now a good time?" during cold calls. Fictional data example, asking "Is now a good time?" Response rate, percent, success rate, percent. Yes, 15, 5, no, 30, 20, Description: in this fictional dataset, we have two different responses to the question, is now a good time? Yes and number. A sense response rate, percent, indicates the percentage of times the prospect responded after being asked if it was a good time. A sense success rate, percent, represents the percentage of successful conversions, for example, securing a meeting or sale, from the calls. The data shows that when asking if it's a good time, getting a yes response resulted in a response rate of 15% and a success rate of 5%. On the other hand, getting a no response had a higher response rate of 30% and a higher success rate of 20%. This information could be presented in a bar chart, with response type on the x-axis, response rate, percent, on the left y-axis, and success rate, percent, on the right y-axis. The bars for response rate and success rate can be color-coded to differentiate them. This visual representation emphasizes the effectiveness of avoiding the question, is now a good time? During cold calls. Mistake number 6. Over-apologizing. To those of you particularly fond of apologizing, this message is for you. Do not apologize. Do not say I'm sorry for bothering you or anything like that. Address your cold calling guilt another way. Replace an apology with, can you help me? This cold calling tip works particularly great with administrative assistants and gatekeepers. Dataset and description of how it can complement the statement about the mistake of over-apologizing during cold calls. Fictional data example. Apology used. Response rate, percent, success rate, percent. Yes, 10, 3, no, asked for help, 25, 15. Vertical bar description. In this fictional dataset, we have two different approaches, using an apology and asking for help instead of apologizing. A sense apology used indicates whether an apology was used during the call. A sense response rate, percent, represents the percentage of times the prospect responded after the initial approach. A sense success rate, percent, shows the percentage of successful conversions, for example, securing a meeting or sale, from the calls. The data shows that when an apology was used, the response rate was 10% with a success rate of 3%. However, when the caller refrained from apologizing and instead asked for help, the response rate increased to 25% and the success rate rose to 15%. This information could be presented in a bar chart, with approach type on the x-axis, response rate, percent, on the left y-axis, and success rate, percent, on the right y-axis. The bars for response rate and success rate can be color-coded to differentiate them. This visual representation emphasizes the effectiveness of refraining from over-apologizing during cold calls. Mistake number 7. Uttering the phrases touching base or checking in. Replace these fluffy reasons for calling with the actual reason for cold calling. This respects your prospect's time and addresses the biggest don't. Not having a reason for your call. Morgan Ingram of Barrows. Dataset and description of how it can complement the statement about the mistake of using phrases like touching base or checking in during cold calls. Fictional data example. Phrase used. Response rate, percent, success rate, percent. Touching base, 8, 2, checking in, 7, 1, providing value, 15, 8. Description. In this fictional dataset, we have three different approaches, using touching base, using checking in, and providing value with a specific reason for calling. A sense phrase used indicates the type of language used in the initial approach. A sense response rate, percent, represents the percentage of times the prospect responded after the initial approach. A sense success rate, percent, shows the percentage of successful conversions, for example, securing a meeting or sale, from the calls. The data shows that when using the phrases touching base or checking in, the response rates were 8% and 7% respectively, with relatively low success rates. However, when providing a specific reason for the call, for example, offering value or addressing a specific pain point, the response rate increased to 15% with a significantly higher success rate of 8%. This information could be presented in a bar chart, with approach type on the x-axis, response rate, percent, on the left y-axis, and success rate, percent, on the right y-axis. The bars for response rate and success rate can be color-coded to differentiate them. This visual representation emphasizes the importance of providing a clear and valuable reason for your cold call. Perfecting the script progress is most vital when trying to hit a quota. Don't make your task harder than it already is by trying to maintain a long sales cycle. If you routinely check your pipeline and determine which qualified leads have the best chance of resulting in a sale, you shouldn't have to worry about a long cycle. You may be a single presentation or a single follow-up phone call away from closing the sale and removing a client name from your pipeline. For the best reason. The more clients you have in limbo, the more chaotic your pipeline will be. Perhaps you can touch base with those types of clients early in the next month to gain a pulse. However, there will always be a few bottom-heavy opportunities that should be handled with more immediacy. Close those deals, clean up your pipeline, and then spend some time on the new leads. Dataset and description of how it can complement the statement about perfecting the sales cycle. Fictional data example, lead type, average days in pipeline, conversion rate, %. Qualified leads, 25, 35, bottom heavy ops, 50, 15, new leads, 30, 25. Description. In this fictional dataset, we have 3 different types of leads: qualified leads, bottom heavy opportunities, and new leads. iSense lead type categorizes the leads based on their qualification and stage in the pipeline. iSense average days in pipeline represents the average number of days a lead spends in the pipeline before conversion. iSense conversion rate, %, shows the percentage of leads in each category that successfully convert. The data shows that qualified leads spend an average of 25 days in the pipeline with a conversion rate of 35%. Bottom heavy opportunities have a longer average time in the pipeline, 50 days, and a lower conversion rate of 15%. New leads fall in between, spending an average of 30 days in the pipeline with a conversion rate of 25%. This information could be presented in a bar chart, with lead type on the x-axis, average days in pipeline on the left y-axis, and conversion rate, %, on the right y-axis. The bars for average days and conversion rate can be color-coded to differentiate them. This visual representation emphasizes the importance of managing leads effectively to maintain a streamlined sales cycle. Prepare a script for bypassing gatekeepers. It's not uncommon that the phone numbers listed for a particular person will actually be answered by a gatekeeper. In a typical firm with 100-500 employees, an average of 7 people is involved in most buying decisions. The first goal of a salesperson in this situation is to get patched through to a decision maker. With that in mind, it is important to ensure that you do not overwhelm the gatekeeper with facts and information about your product or service that they have no authority to act on. The gatekeeper could have access to, or even control, the decision maker's calendar, so establishing a friendly rapport with this person will be vital in securing an appointment. Also, while getting past the gatekeeper is the goal, by taking the time to converse with this person, rather than reading a script at them verbatim, you will likely obtain helpful information about the decision maker that you're trying to connect with, which can be used to help close a deal. For the best results, stop viewing gatekeepers as an obstacle to get past, but instead, start seeing them as the valuable resources that they can often be to your success. Dataset and description of how it can complement the statement about preparing a script for bypassing gatekeepers. Fictional data example, gatekeeper response, friendly rapport score, 110, helpful information obtained. Polite and engaging, 8, decision maker's interests, reserved but polite, 6, decision maker's schedule, abrupt and busy, 4, decision maker's contact. Description. In this fictional dataset, we have different responses from gatekeepers, along with associated metrics. iSense gatekeeper response categorizes the gatekeeper's behavior when approached by a salesperson. iSense friendly rapport score represents the subjective score, on a scale of 1 to 10, given by the salesperson to assess how friendly and engaging the interaction was with the gatekeeper. iSense helpful information obtained indicates the type of information gathered from the gatekeeper about the decision maker. For example, when the gatekeeper responds politely and engages in conversation, the salesperson gives a friendly rapport score of 8. During this interaction, the salesperson obtains information about the decision maker's interests. Similarly, when the gatekeeper is reserved but still polite, the rapport score is 6. In this case, the salesperson learns about the decision maker's schedule. Lastly, when the gatekeeper is abrupt and busy, the rapport score drops to 4. However, the salesperson still manages to gather the decision maker's contact information. This data could be presented in a table format, with the 3 columns representing the gatekeeper response, friendly rapport score, and helpful information obtained. This visual representation emphasizes the importance of building a positive relationship with gatekeepers to extract valuable insights about decision makers. What is a gatekeeper? Office manager, receptionist, administrative assistant, decision maker, undercover. Dataset and description of how it can complement the statement about gatekeepers. Fictional data example, position, response time, seconds, gatekeeper rating, 110. Office manager, 12, 9, receptionist, 20, 7, administrative assistant, 15, 8, decision maker, undercover, 25, 6. Description. In this fictional dataset, we have different positions representing gatekeepers, along with associated metrics. iSense position identifies the role of the gatekeeper, for example, office manager, receptionist, administrative assistant, or decision maker posing as a gatekeeper. iSense response time measures how quickly the gatekeeper responds to a cold call. iSense gatekeeper rating represents the subjective score, on a scale of 1 to 10, given by the salesperson to assess the effectiveness of the gatekeeper. For example, the office manager responds in 12 seconds and receives a high gatekeeper rating of 9, indicating that they are efficient and effective in managing calls. On the other hand, the decision maker posing as a gatekeeper has a response time of 25 seconds and receives a gatekeeper rating of 6. This indicates that they may not be as skilled in handling calls compared to dedicated gatekeepers. This data could be presented in a table format, with the 3 columns representing the gatekeeper position, response time, and gatekeeper rating. This visual representation highlights the varying characteristics of different gatekeepers and emphasizes the importance of understanding their roles in the cold calling process. Get the gatekeeper's name. Should you need to follow up, you could come in contact with this person again. Addressing them by name is a simple, easy way to build trust and make them feel valuable. Some decision makers decide whether or not to take a sales call based on the gatekeeper's feedback. Ask targeted questions that can assist in future calls. Research will play a pivotal role in what these questions should actually be, but asking about recent news in the company could get the gatekeepers talking. Don't be afraid to ask questions about your target contact. Chances are that the gatekeeper works most closely with the decision maker and can give you a leg up by sharing details regarding their preferred method of contact or times of availability. Remember your manners. Follow up with a gatekeeper after an initial call to thank them for their time and any information they shared. The gatekeeper is likely the person that can get you an appointment or stop your sale dead in its tracks. Professional courtesy can go a long way. Dataset and description of how it can complement the statement about interacting with gatekeepers. Fictional data example: gatekeeper name, company, recent news mentioned, preferred contact method, availability times. Sarah Thompson, ABC Industries vertical bar yes, email, 9 a.m., 5 p.m. Mark Rodriguez, Ziz Corp., no, phone, 2 p.m., 4 p.m. Emily Davis, Element Holdings, yes, in person, 10 a.m., 12 p.m. Description: in this fictional dataset, we have different gatekeepers and associated information. A sense gatekeeper name identifies the name of the gatekeeper. A sense company represents the company they work for. A sense recent news mentioned indicates whether the gatekeeper mentioned any recent news about their company during the call. A sense preferred contact method shows the gatekeeper's preferred way of communication. A sense availability times outlines the times when the gatekeeper is most available. For example, Sarah Thompson from ABC Industries prefers to be contacted via email and is available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. She also mentioned recent news during the call. This data could be presented in a table format, with the 5 columns representing gatekeeper name, company, recent news mention, preferred contact method, and availability times. This visual representation emphasizes the importance of gathering and utilizing information about gatekeepers to enhance future calls and build professional relationships. Be polite. Be honest. Use their name. Give full attention. Take ownership. Follow up. Don't be negative. Make excuses. Lie. Pass the blame. Dataset that complements the do's and don'ts statement you provided. Fictional dataset. Interaction, politeness, honesty, use of name, attention, ownership, follow up. Call 1. Yes, 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 no. Meeting 2. Yes, yes, no, yes, yes, yes. Email 3. Yes, 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 no, yes, yes. Presentation 4 vertical bar yes, no, yes, 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 no. Follow-up 5. Yes, 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 yes. Description: a sense interaction represents the type of interaction, for example, call, meeting, email, presentation, follow-up. A sense politeness indicates whether the interaction was conducted with politeness. Yes/no. A sense honesty denotes whether the interaction involved honesty. Yes/no. I sense use of name shows if the individual's name was used during the interaction. Yes/no. A sense attention specifies if full attention was given during the interaction. Yes/no. A sense ownership reflects whether ownership was taken during the interaction. Yes/no. A sense follow-up indicates whether a follow-up was conducted after the interaction. Yes/no. For example, in call 1, the interaction was polite, honest, used the individual's name, received full attention, and took ownership. However, no follow-up was conducted. This data could be represented in a table format, with the 7 columns representing different aspects of the interaction. This visual representation emphasizes the importance of various elements in successful interactions. Data that complements a statement about preparing a script for decision makers. Fictional example: interaction, pain points addressed, value proposition details, next steps discussed. Call 1. Location preferences, expansion plans, highlighted prime locations near city center, proximity to transportation hubs, set up on-site visit. Meeting 2. Budget constraints, need for flexible lease terms, presented cost-effective options, discussed flexible lease agreements, provided detailed lease proposal for review. Email 3. desire for modern amenities, need for ample parking, emphasized modern office facilities, highlighted ample on-site parking, offered virtual tour of property amenities. Presentation for vertical bar specific zoning requirements, accessibility concerns, addressed zoning regulations, discussed accessibility features, share detailed site plan addressing zoning compliance. Follow-up 5, interest and long-term partnership, concerns about property maintenance, offered customized property management solutions, outlined long-term benefits of partnership, scheduled follow-up meeting to discuss partnership details. Description. A sense interaction represents the type of interaction, for example, call, meeting, email, presentation, follow-up. A sense pain points addressed outlines the specific concerns or challenges of the property owner that were addressed during the interaction. I sense value proposition details provides information on how the product or service offered by the commercial real estate agent addresses those pain points. A sense next steps discussed indicates the proposed actions or discussions that were planned as a follow-up to the interaction. This fictional dataset emphasizes the importance of tailoring the script to address the unique needs and concerns of decision makers in commercial real estate transactions. It also highlights the value propositions provided during each interaction. Data that complements a statement about understanding the prospect's company and using the cold calling script effectively. Fictional example. Prospect company, company goals, pain points, product benefits. Zistech solutions, increase operational efficiency, outdated software systems, slow response times, streamlined processes, improved software solutions. ABC Manufacturing, reduce production costs, improve quality, aging machinery, quality control challenges, cost-effective equipment upgrades, quality assurance tools. LMN Financial, expand market reach, enhance customer service, limited outreach channels, inefficient customer support, multi-channel marketing solutions, CRM integration for improved service. Description. A sense prospect company refers to the name of the company being approached. A sense company goals outlines the primary objectives and targets of the company. A sense pain points identifies the specific challenges or obstacles the company is facing. A sense product benefits highlights how the product or service offered addresses these pain points and contributes to achieving the company's goals. This fictional dataset demonstrates the importance of aligning the cold calling script with the prospect's company goals and pain points. It showcases how understanding these aspects can lead to more effective and tailored pitches during cold calls. Example: Cold Calling 2.0 Funnel. Prepare, define ideal target profile, add target accounts, add contacts, prospect, send cold emails, make mapping calls, work responses, 9% response rate, demos, appointments, begin sales cycle, new opportunities, closed deals. Data that complements a statement about the Cold Calling 2.0 funnel. Fictional example: stage, activity, success rate. Additional notes. Prepare, define ideal target profile, N.A., based on industry, company size, and pain points. Add target accounts, N.A., research and identify high potential companies. Add contacts, N.A., identify decision makers and influencers. Prospect, send cold emails, 15%, personalized messaging with value proposition. Make mapping calls, 12%, establish initial contact, gather information. Work responses, 9%, engage with interested prospects, qualify leads. Demos, appointments, 5%, schedule product demos or sales meetings. Begin sales cycle, new opportunities, 20%, qualified leads ready to move forward. Closed deals, 10%, successful conversions from opportunities. Description: ASIN's stage refers to the different phases in the Cold Calling 2.0 funnel. ASIN's activity outlines the specific actions taken in each stage. ASIN's success rate represents the hypothetical success rates for each activity. ASIN's additional notes provides context or considerations for each activity. This fictional example demonstrates a simplified Cold Calling 2.0 funnel, showing the progression from preparation to closing deals. Keep in mind that success rates are for illustrative purposes and may vary in real-world scenarios. Combine social selling with cold calling. While cold calling remains an effective sales strategy, it's not the only way for salespeople to reach prospects and leads. You can also connect with customers via social media. Social selling is a cold selling method that allows salespeople to engage with prospects on their own time, by contacting a decision maker via social media platform, either via direct message or by replying to a public social media post. Salespeople have an opportunity to share information that the prospect can process without the pressure of a real-time interaction. Once the salesperson does pick up the phone, social selling primes leads so that cold calling becomes warm calling. For rookie members of your sales team, social selling is also a great way to help them overcome call reluctance. The fear of picking up the phone. Sharing a customer story or social proof via LinkedIn, for instance, may feel easier than a phone conversation and will make the inevitable cold data that complements a statement about combining social selling with cold calling. Fictional example, method, engagement frequency, success rate, additional notes. Cold calling, 50 calls per day, 5%, direct, real-time communication with prospects. Social selling, 10 interactions, WK, 10%, engaging prospects on social media platforms. LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., for relationship building, combined approach, NA, 15%, social selling warms up leads for more effective. Cold calling, increasing overall conversion rates, rookie sales team. Using social selling helps overcome call reluctance for new sales team members, providing a comfortable entry point into prospect engagement. Description: ASENSE method outlines the sales approach, cold calling, social selling, or combined approach. ASENSE engagement frequency indicates how often each method is employed, for example, calls per day, interactions per week. ASENSE success rate represents the hypothetical success rates for each method. ASENSE additional notes provides context or benefits associated with each approach. This fictional example illustrates the potential benefits of combining social selling with cold calling, along with its impact on rookie sales team members. Keep in mind that success rates and engagement frequencies are for illustrative purposes and may vary in real-world scenarios. 57% of sellers want to do as much of the decision-making as they can without a salesperson. 84% of business-to-business decision-makers begin their selling process with a referral. 89% of clients begin their selling process with a search engine. 72% of sellers engage with a salesperson when they are 50% to 70% through the selling cycle, versus 20% through the cycle 20 years ago. 75% of business-to-business sellers use social media to research vendors. 84% sellers who use social media have larger budgets, typically 84% larger than the budgets of sellers who do not use social media. Data along with some potential categories for your graph. Statistic, percentage. Sellers wanting more control over decision making, 57%. Business-to-business decision makers starting with a referral, 84%. Clients initiating the selling process through a search engine, 89%. Sellers engaging with salespeople midway through the cycle, 72%. Sellers using social media for vendor research, 75%. Sellers using social media with larger budgets, 84%. Graph, chart categories. 1. Sales process initiation, ASENSE referral ASENSE search engine. 2. Sellers engagement timing, ASENSE percent through cycle. 3. Social media usage, ASENSE vendor research ASENSE budget size increase. You can use this data to create a graph or chart using any spreadsheet software or data visualization tool. This way, you can choose the type of graph, bar chart, pie chart, etc., that best suits your presentation needs. Increase cold calling efficiency with technology. In today's world of technology, cold calling does not have to be the slow and inefficient process it once was. From automated dialing systems to document management platforms, technology can significantly boost your cold calling efficiency and results. If you haven't already, consider upgrading your technology in the following areas. 010203 Say goodbye to spreadsheets and adopt a CRM, customer relationship management, system like Salesforce, Oracle, SAP, and Eloqua, which have infrastructures designed to manage the process between prospects and customers and increase the efficiency of prospecting. Consider using an automated dialer system like RingCentral, Five9, and Power Dialer to better maintain lists and oversee call center agents. These systems drastically boost call efficiency by dialing the next number on the list as soon as the previous call is completed. More calls mean more opportunities to make sales. A centralized storage location of presentation templates, pamphlets, or one-sheets on systems like Google Drive, Dropbox, and OneDrive can be helpful for quickly sending prospects information while still on the phone. This allows for agents to confirm that the documents were received and opens the door for a follow-up call to review the information later. Data along with some potential categories for your graph, technology solution. Example platforms: CRM systems, Salesforce, Oracle, SAP, Eloqua, automated dialer systems, RingCentral, Five9, Power Dialer, document management platforms, Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive. Graph, chart categories. 1. Technology solutions, ASENSE CRM systems, ASENSE automated dialer systems, ASENSE document management platforms. 2. Example platforms, ASENSE Salesforce, Oracle, SAP, Eloqua, ASENSE RingCentral, Five9, Power Dialer, ASENSE Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive. You can use this data to create a graph or chart using any spreadsheet software or data visualization tool. This way, you can choose the type of graph, bar chart, pie chart, etc. that best suits your presentation needs. Track trigger events with Crunchbase Pro. Triggers events are anything that signals an intent to buy, such as new funding rounds, mergers and acquisitions, hiring C-level staff, laying off team members, and restructuring personnel. Taking on more of a broad point of view, any industry changes, competitor adjustments, awards or special events are trigger events. Trigger events help qualify prospects and demonstrate that a salesperson has done their research. Regularly monitoring a company's activities can be time-consuming and waste valuable resources while also costing a lot of money. Let Crunchbase Pro send you all of the important information you seek. Whenever a company you want to monitor raises money or is mentioned in the news, Crunchbase will let you know about it. Refine your search with customizable filters based on your target prospect. Generating a potential lead or re-engaging a cold lead is just the first step toward making a sale. Crunchbase can help narrow down your search to find the best leads for your business. The key to turning a lead into a sale is knowing when to sell your product or service. By identifying and tracking trigger events, you'll be able to react to potential sales opportunities more quickly, close more deals and increase your likelihood of beating competitors to a new prospect. Data along with some potential categories for your graph. Trigger events. Examples. New funding rounds. Company X raised $Y million in funding. Mergers and acquisitions. Company X acquired Company Y. Hiring C-level staff. Company X hired a new CEO, CFO, etc. Layoffs and restructuring. Company X laid off C% of its workforce. Industry changes. New regulations impact Company X's industry. Competitor adjustments. Competitor Y launched a new product. Awards or special events. Company X received Industry's E Award. Graph, chart categories. 1. Trigger events. A-Sense new funding rounds. A-Sense mergers and acquisitions. A-Sense hiring C-level staff. A-Sense layoffs and restructuring. A-Sense industry changes. A-Sense competitor adjustments. A-Sense awards or special events. 2. Examples. A-Sense Company X raised $Y million in funding. A-Sense Company X acquired Company Y. A-Sense Company X hired a new CEO, CFO, etc. A-Sense Company X laid off C% of its workforce. A-Sense new regulations impact Company X's industry. A-Sense competitor Y launched a new product. A-Sense Company X received Industry's E Award. You can use this data to create a graph or chart using any spreadsheet software or data visualization tool. This way, you can choose the type of graph, bar chart, pie chart, etc. that best suits your presentation needs.